So it is my honor to introduce Mishonne Ascuaga.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for having me. It's my sincere pleasure and honor to be here and to have a chance to talk with you. Let me just start by telling you my connection to AACT. When I worked at the Nugget, we had quite a pipeline with the culinary program. And I think it actually started with the rib cook-off because we would have this incredible peak need going into late summer. And our chef was very quick to start identifying young people to assist with the food operation during that period, which was mammoth. We went through, oh gosh, 100,000 tons of ribs just over 6 days. I mean, it was quite a process. So we became familiar with AACT then. A couple of years later, I was involved with founding the Washoe K-12 Education Foundation, which is a private group raising private money for the school district. And we became familiar with Dana then because of the signature academies. It's one of the things that we helped fund early on. And once I got to know Dana, of course, she reached out to me on a couple of occasions. We got to interact with several of the student groups that were preparing for presentations for various competitions. It was really great. And then my dad actually met Dana at a Rotary group, and hence my pin. This is from my dad. So I just thought I'd come, dressed appropriately. But so when Dana asked me to do this today, it was very easy for me to say yes. I just really admire the good work that all of you do here, and I truly am impressed with the quality of the program here. Of course, after thinking about it a couple of days, I realized, well, now I've got to figure out what I'm going to say. Holy crap, what do I do? What am I going to talk about? So I went online, and I pulled up the employability skills for career readiness. And I thought, wow, and I mean this sincerely, this is pretty incredible. I wish I had had this growing up. Because these are the things that we all say, school doesn't teach you this. These are the things that you learn when you become an adult, and hopefully you pick up when you enter the workforce. And I think how fortunate it would be for every kid to have some training in these areas while they're in high school. I grew up in northern Nevada on a 1,200-acre ranch about an hour south of here. I'm third in a lineup of 4 kids. My older brother was quite a handful, so I was the one in the family who kind of rode under the radar. I was very good in school, very competitive, but really wasn't much of an attention getter. When I was 13, my dad let me go work at the Nugget, and I was a desk clerk at the Roof Garden Hotel. If you think I'm short now, you should have seen me at age 13. I could hardly see over the desk. But the experience was really invaluable in that it forced me to work with the public. It forced me to work with people much older than I, to interact with a variety of different people. It taught me to have a schedule. I got paid $2 an hour. And it was really great experience again on some of those soft skills. I went to college, I got a degree in mathematics. I came back at 21, didn't know what the hell I was doing. Does this sound familiar? My dad said, you can do whatever you want, but you have no money, so come work for me, and you can go around and interview. And I said, great. And I kind of flitted around for a while, and I ended up working in sales. Everyone should work in sales. And I mean that. They're great soft skills. A great place to learn soft skills. Good salespeople get a bum rap because it's a wonderful skill to have throughout your life. I worked for a woman who was considered to be the best in her field. She also had a habit of chewing people up and spitting them out. And I learned more from her than many people that I interacted with in my early career. Sales teaches you good telephone skills, how to communicate well. It teaches you perseverance. overcoming negatives, overcoming rejection. It teaches you how to go after something. And for me, being a somewhat reserved, petite female, it was extremely helpful. There was one organization, I'll never forget this, one of my first conventions that I sold, and that's what we were selling, was group business, was the Northern Nevada Juvenile and Family Court Judges Association. It's located up on the UNR campus, and it was a large piece of business, 600 rooms a night in March. It was a significant piece of business for us. And I became very close with the executive director. He and I became very good friends. He was my father's age. And I thought I had them coming with their next convention to the Nugget. At the last minute, the Hilton at the time, now Grand Sierra, got involved and really made a play and tried to take it away. And I thought I had lost it. And I went to my boss, Marianne, and I said, what do I do? You know, they're going over to the Hilton. And she said, well, you know, when are they making the decision? I said, well, they've got a board meeting going on in Las Vegas, and I think I've lost it. She said, get your ass on a plane, go down there, and don't come home without it. And I thought, holy crap, you know, I'm 22, I get on a plane, I fly down there, the executive director sees me and says, what are you doing here? And I started to cry. There is nothing wrong with selling by guilt. Anyway, I ended up saving. I got it. And I'll tell you, I've never forgotten that to this day. And again, it's that perseverance, that tenacity, that's knowing how to go after something. And those are skills that you just don't learn that easily. So you can imagine, again, when I pulled out that list, I really think that's relevant. I just think that's great. So in 1997, I was named CEO. And I have to say, one of the biggest pieces of parts of my job was hiring people. My job was to get the right people on the bus and the wrong people off the bus. I probably interviewed thousands of people. I hired hundreds. I fired a few. And I spent a lot of time evaluating people, evaluating customer service, evaluating quality. And the funny thing is I had templates when I evaluated, and they looked a lot like this. Now, I'm not going to go through your list and tell you one by one how they relate to what I did, but I'm going to pick a few. And the first thing I want to mention is that when we had new hires, people starting a job at the Nugget, we would have a new hire orientation that was mandatory. And either my dad or I or my younger brother Stephen would greet the group. And the first thing I would do when I had a group of new employees is I would go up and I'd say, hi, my name is Mishonne Ascuaga, I'm CEO of the Nugget, and what is your name? And how they responded to me told me whether or not they were going to make it at the Nugget. Because if they kind of looked the other way or they, you know, kind of didn't engage, I knew they weren't going to be cut out for the work that we were in. But if they greeted me back and said, I'm Aditi, and I'm going to work for you in the hotel, I knew I had a winner. I could teach that person whatever. So those are soft skills, you know, again, and they seem so simple, but they really are not natural to a lot of people. And those are the things I think we forget and that are so important. Showing up for work and being on time. Does that sound like a no-brainer or what? But do you know that probably 5% of our new hires never showed up for the first day of work? It was common. Not to mention being on time. And when you run 24 hours a day and you're doing shift work, being on time is everything. Because it really upsets the chain when you're showing up 10, 15 minutes late for work. Somebody else is having to stay late. You miss the the changeover. There's a lot of complications with that. Self-representation, dress, language. You know, I love being able to go home and put on a pair of sweats, and I've got a shirt that looks like I've had it for 50 years. You know, but the reality is when you're working with a customer, you got to look a certain way. And if your guest is largely older, you cannot be dressed with, you know, tattoos and gauges and the like. And we deal with that every day. There is a certain way to look for your guest, and your guest drives the dress code. Your language is everything. We spent a lot of time on this. You do not go up to a table in a restaurant and say, "How are you guys doing?" That's too informal. It's, "Hello, my name is Dee Dee. I'm your server today. How may I help you?" You know, there's language. Language is important. And when you go to work, those little things really add up. Written communication, huge. I was always surprised at how poorly even our executives at times wrote, or their inability to write. You have to be able to communicate both orally and in a written fashion. And I think that it's unfortunate how many don't get to that level, because to me it's a real holdback. Teamwork. You know, we figured that in most of our guest interactions, at least a dozen employees interacted with a guest while they were on property. It was never one employee. And so how you hand the ball off is everything. And if you drop the ball early on, the chances of recovering later get harder and harder. So how you're all working together is everything. No one works independently. Last thing I want to mention is the whole customer service piece. You know, we found that a lot of our evaluations that we would do with employees, you know, your annual evaluations, often focused on technical skills because they're easy to measure. When in fact, in our business, most jobs really are about customer service. And so we went and we revamped everything. And we tried to define customer service in every different job category that we had. And I mean, we got down, excuse my language, to a gnat's ass. And we got to the point where every month, and then it was every 2 months, we would be measuring that customer service on employees. And we had surveys, and we did it electronically, where we were taking feedback from our guests all the time. And again, depending on how those scores came out, that fed into those employees' evaluations. Customer service can be evaluated, and it's very important, again, those soft skills, that you spend the time really trying to figure out how to do that fairly. You don't want it to be mechanized, because you want to give people the natural ability to have a relationship with a guest, but it's important that all of those systems really flow together. So I think it's really exciting what you're doing here. You know, back to the beginning. So here I am, I'm on the foundation board. Dana says we've got a group of students who are doing this competition in Kansas City, and they'd like to do their program for you. And it was a group of 4 or 5, and they had picked a nonprofit that they were going to raise money for. And their project was creating an event, soliciting sponsors, executing the event, following up on the event, circling back and strategizing on how to improve the event. What a great exercise. I mean, really, those are such great skills. Just, again, the solicitation. It's hard as a kid to get on a phone like that. What a great skill to develop. So I am very genuine in saying I am very excited about what you're doing, and I think you are in such an incredible place at an incredible time. I mean, here we are in Northern Nevada. We've got all this industry coming into town. You've got the foundation of something really great here, but at the same time, you've got an opportunity to grow it and to just build on what you've already done. And I am excited to be a part of the conversation. it's a time to build something new. And you, like I said, you've got a great foundation already going. So Dana, I hope that does it for you. But thank you again for having me here. I really appreciate it.